Okay, so in the last video that I did, which was the first of these videos, which I think is going to become a long series, we talked about acknowledging the moment, and that moment is the global shift that we're going through on this planet. And as you can see in my moment, I am on a small lake. I'm in a kayak. I am aware that I'm lucky to be here. It's quiet. There's not many people out here. I'm in rural Ohio, so I don't know. It's mid-September and the high is probably going to be like maybe 64 degrees today, but here in the sun, it's so nice and to be in the quiet. So, that's where I'm at in this moment, while globally we're in the moment of transition and change, and feels a lot like chaos, and some of it is that as well. And then today I wanted to just talk about where we are in this moment as individuals, and that story is going to look a bit different for everyone, because we're all so unique and we all have different paths and different stories. The collective story is that we're in a time of transition, and it's affecting different people in different ways because there's a lot of intense energy going on from all of the crises going on around the globe. And I tend to focus on the United States of America because that's where I live, and the majority of the people that I am close to live. So it's easy to just get caught up in all of the just tons of stuff that's going on in our own country and forget about the rest of the world. But the rest of the world is going through a lot of the same things that we're going through, because a lot of this stuff is global. The virus is global. It's better in some areas than it is in others. The protests seem to be pretty global. Some places don't have them, but there's a good number of countries that are experiencing social discord and social unrest. And the storms and natural disasters are, of course, going to be a global incident. Again, some places seeing less of that than others. But we started out with like, where are we at in this moment? And I think it hit us a lot when the virus, hit, and a lot of people were saying, well, we're all in this together, in which we are. And we pretty much have always been in this together from the beginning, because no man is an island. We need each other. We need each other to survive. We need the communities and the organized societies where people cooperate and they build, and it takes a tribe, and that's how we have always been. So we know that we can't do this alone, and we are in this together. And that's the way it started out. I feel like for me in the United States, and being back in Ohio at this time, I had lived out of state for 20 years, so I just moved back here last year. And I'm glad that I did, with my mom during this pandemic. I'm going to try to set the phone. So, that's how we started out the moment. We started out the moment with, we're all in this together. But then, it wasn't long before a couple weeks went by, and, we thought it was going to be maybe 2 weeks to bend the curve, and we just saw things happening that were horrifying, especially in New York City, where, the population is dense, and they were not prepared, and nobody could have been prepared for that. And so it just kind of hit like all at once with this, oh shit, like we're going to be in this for a while. Okay, are we still in this together? Because some people are like over it, and they don't want to even see that this is going on, because they're not seeing it in their area, so why should they care? And it's evolved even since then. We've gone through months now, and there's just so many conspiracy theories and so many people that are just on a different page, and just focusing on really small stuff. And one thing that the virus has done is just brought to light, and crises like this it really shows people, it shows people's true colors. It shines a lot of light, and it brings up darkness when that happens. And so you have all these different styles of handling the crisis and the global shift. And this is a really important time in the history of mankind, but we're in it, so we can't really see that. We're going to have to see that in hindsight when we're a little bit further away from this, in the future, looking back and the generations beyond us. And a lot of questions from people who are inspiring have been, what did you do in this moment? Where were you at? How did you contribute? And that is a very important question. However, we kind of see that maybe not everybody is thinking along those lines, because people are afraid and their world has been turned upside down, and it's very hard for them to just navigate through a day in this new reality without having to solve all the problems of the world. It's like, I am just trying to figure out how now my kids are home and there's only one of us working and it's one income and it's not enough and I'm food insecure, and that could be somebody's story. And then somebody else's story, could be, well, I'm immunocompromised. I'd love to go to work, but I'm not going to risk that. And my unemployment has run out and I don't have a lot of savings. And they're on and on. There's so many different stories, up to people that are just still working full time. And so I say all of that to say this, we're all in the same circumstance, but in our own unique circumstances. And we're starting to see people's personalities. There's a lot of breakups, divorces going on. And I kind of smile, but the thing is a lot of the stuff that seems like it's really horrific, this is, I believe, all for the greater good. And transition and change is difficult, but it is something that needs to happen, and it will be positive. And where we're at in this moment, we can only control ourselves. So getting into trying to figure out what's true and what's not, that's about somebody else. We're only in control of ourselves, so we should be paying attention to that. And the different types of people and the way that they're handling that can kind of be categorized, not really, because there's so many of us and we all are diverse, but so some of them are do-gooders. They are in a position to help and they want to help and they give to charity, and maybe they've done volunteer work and they're out there cheering for everybody, and it's just bringing up more and more compassion in them and more empathy, and they're becoming sort of the heroes of this time, and that's great. There are people who are really good people, but they just are not contributing because they're in survival mode, me mode, with I gotta figure out how to navigate my own personal life and make this work. So there's not a lot of extra time for me to volunteer, and I just gotta focus on me, and there's a lot of stuff going on with me. And so maybe these people can't get out and do all of the good and the charitable acts, but they are, for the most part, of course, it's just like your average person. They're a good person in their heart. There's people who are inspiring at this time, people who are just coming out of the woodwork, okay, I have something to offer. I have some hope to offer. I'm going to do this in a community setting. Gonna throw a concert from a rooftop. I'm gonna decorate my place with all kinds of just warm welcoming signs, and just all of the things that you can do sort of to uplift people's spirits. So there's people who are doing that, and then there's people who are just angry, and it's not good person, bad person, but if you haven't done a lot of work, and even some who have, we all have what's called shadow side, so we can be very vulnerable during times like this to just become angry and sort of not ourselves, and in some ways poor me, the victim. And sometimes it doesn't manifest like that. It's just we're snapping at everybody we know and we don't know why, and there's so many ways that can happen as far as anger just boiling up, because we are a society that suppresses things. We have a lot of distractions that we can use to suppress feelings, so anger will come up at a time when there is a crisis. I'm basically going to call all of this a crisis or chaos, even though, again, it's for the greater good, or at least that is what a portion of us believe. So it kind of is boiling down right now, if we're going to try to simplify this, is there's the feelings that we have of hope and love, and then there are the feelings of fear. and we want to resist the change. We want things just to go back to normal. And I hear that a lot from people. And there's going to be a new normal, but we're not going backwards. So the hope and the love, it's easier to focus there. And I don't think a lot of people really kind of understand how easy it is to focus there, because we don't like change. We're trying to resist that. We want our comforts. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of fear. And the fear is the big one. We got to get away from the fear-based thinking, because that, it's just not going to be the solution to our problems. So we have all that. We have the hope and we have the fears within us. We all have those things. And some people are tapping in more to one or the other. And then, you have some folks that are just like the bullies. They're just these people that it's not even so much that they're angry. They just want to stoke the fire. They get off on like fights and discord and just making people pissed off. And so like, what is that about? What are they? And why are they here for us? Because we're all kind of like representing different archetypes, if you will. I don't know. People that aren't into that, it's just we're all kind of representing like one of the various different personality traits that could be happening in a crisis. And there are these people that are just like, they want to see violence. And it's not a political thing. There's people on both perceived sides that I don't believe in sides, but on both of these perceived political sides who are bullies and want the violent way. And that's just a sector of people, and it's embedded in our human nature, and these people represent that particular trait of the human condition. And so why are they here? And I think part of the reason that they're here is really to like inspire that quiet sector of people who just, they're not going to stand up. Maybe they're shy. They don't like conflict, or they just pray a lot and, they give it up to God and God's going to take care of it. And so they're used to just handling it that way. And then you have all these bullies out there making all this noise. And so there are a few people that normally would just kind of hide away and not really like get on social media, or not, talk in a group setting about their belief system, who are being poked and stoked so that they will put hope and love into the universe. The people who want that and who pray for that are going to create this shift and make it go in a positive direction, because really it's a collective consciousness, and you don't have to believe in God to understand quantum physics. So if you look into quantum physics, the collective consciousness, the observer, the collective observations creates and shapes our reality. And so the quiet people who start to stand up and just make a little bit of noise in their own way, maybe they're just playing a song around a campfire, and then they go in and they pray for an hour. The collective consciousness of people who are good-hearted, that is kind of stoked by the bully. And it is really important for those people to, I'm not saying engage in violence or get into the fights, because that's what people who are trying to bully want. They want to engage you in an argument. Still stay out of the argument, but you got to speak out a little bit. You got to let other people know on some level that you believe in the love that is in mankind, and that can shine and that can come out, and we can be compassionate to one another, and we can all just like care about each other regardless of what we look like or where we're from. Those are old beliefs. And so I think the bullies are here to just really shine the light on, like, we need a new way. We're not going to destroy ourselves. We refuse to do that. We need a new way. And so, let's try to shift it to the new way. And the bullies and the people that want to destroy everything are like the shadow side of ourselves. They're the shadow side of the human condition. We all have that within us. And somebody's got to represent that and will represent that, because that's the contrast to the good and the awakening. And so we need something there to show us that we need to become awake, what we have been doing throughout all of this time. All right, so if you noticed a little blip going on there, I ran out of storage on my phone, so I had to delete some stuff. All right, so I believe we were just talking about, how the bullies have, and the people who want to destroy, have really kind of poked the bear. They've poked some of the quieter people who want love and hope. So the thing with that, and with all of us, like, I think we kind of all hope that we will be at peace, and that we will not be just constantly churning through a series of crises, day after day after day, after year after year after year. At some point, we just need a break. We actually do need a break now, but just we're not through it yet, so we're not going to get a break like real super soon. So while we're not getting a break, we're trying to find, everybody's just trying to find like a bit of normalcy or peace in their life. And it is important to spread the message of hope, Sounds cheesy. Don't have to be in church to do that. You can be anywhere, absolutely anywhere, just spreading the message of love to people. So that's pretty much what each individual person could do in this moment and is capable of, and it is not difficult. It doesn't cost anything, and it will be very beneficial for each person that does that. And you can do that through meditation or prayer, or just thinking the thoughts, like, I'm putting hope out into the world, I'm putting love out into the world. I know that I can't control what's happening, but I can control myself, and I'm not going to give in to fear, because it's so easy to do that. And that's what's happening with a lot of people, is they're people that could be contributing to the love, and they are just so afraid. And so it is sucking them into, like, down into the dark forces of, like, anger and, fight or flight. They're ready to fight anybody, or just run away from situations, or shut down, or there's a lot of addictive properties because people want to numb out. So then there's people that maybe don't normally drink that much, just trying to use alcohol to overcome the panic of, like, oh my gosh, everything feels so weird and everything seems like it's out of control. It's not completely out of control, but we need to get back to just the basics of that we are only in control of ourselves, and that just basic goodwill can do a lot right now to combat the bigger forces that we just can't see or fight against alone. So collectively we need to generate hope. And then I think getting fixated on things that are really super obvious is gonna get us stuck, like the thing about talking about rights, like, well, I have the right to do this, or I have the right to say that. Well, you know what? Okay, that's a very obvious statement, but what are you doing right now in this moment to help? And also, the things that you are doing, do you feel right about them? Yes, you have the right to do absolutely anything you want. And then, good decisions lead to good results, bad decisions lead to bad results, and you can continue to spend the next several years living a life of complete fear and misery, and go through the same situations you're going to go through if you live out the next few years with hope and love and compassion in your heart, which just feels so much better. And so what we kind of have to do is just get rid of, like, the focus on these obvious things of, like, I have the right to feel how I feel, it's my party, I can cry if I want to. And it's like, yes, that's true, we all know that, and yes, you're thinking about you again, that's great, but do you feel right about what you're doing? Are you feeling good? And also, you don't need to announce the obvious things that we all have the right to do A, B, and C. We know this. We have to move on now. We have to drop all the old ways of thinking, believing, the rigid thinking, and we have to move forward from the moment of now, which we're not going backwards. So it's not about starting over. People get so afraid, and I think that's why, because we think if we abandon all the old ways, then we have to go back to the start and it's not about starting over. It's about moving forward from where we are in a way that is going to produce a better result, in a way that's going to be different, so that we don't get back to the same thing of, now we're all infighting again and we're going to have a civil war. I mean, it's kind of just ridiculous that history does repeat itself and that we do not learn from the past. It's maddening, really, if you think a lot about that. It just, so we're going to change our thinking from like, I have the right to do this, or I'm allowed to feel this way, to like, well, am I right in the moment of now? Like, do I feel right? Where am I at right now? And defining where we're at instead of like where we have the right to be at, and not being defensive about it, but looking inward, so we're not talking outward to other people about things that really at this point don't matter. What do you feel right about? If you're angry and lashing out, you could say, yeah, I'm okay with what I'm doing, I have the right to do that, but do you really feel right about that? And what's the outcome of that? People dying to hang out with you when you're angry? I mean, we have to be the change that we want to see, and we do have to do that collectively, and some people won't, but if a small portion of us can, and we can be consistent with that, we can turn this whole thing around for the positive. So, and I'm going to give just one last example here that I think kind of fits with today when I talk about like the obvious gets us stuck. The thing with masks being so controversial, it is such a distraction that just, it's so unnecessary. If we could just like dissolve some of the things like that. I remember, I was probably too young to remember, but I definitely recall other adults, with conversations about the time where the controversy about wearing seatbelts. Okay. Because you're not hurting anybody. If you don't wear one, you don't want to wear one. You can't make me wear one. Me. And, in the end, it's become a law. But that's not the point. The point is that it does not hurt you to put a seatbelt on, right? It doesn't hurt you to put a mask on either. But when you get in an accident and you don't have a seatbelt on, and a first responder has to come and pull your gnarly body that just went halfway through a windshield, out of the car, and address the mess that causes, and address your family to let them know what happened, yes, you are affecting other people. So, I mean, and big deal. It doesn't do any harm to put one on. So instead of fixating on these we just want to be right all the time. Our egos have just gotten out of control, and we'll have to reel that in now and kind of start saying no to the ego. So when we start to get angry and controversial, about something that doesn't even really need to consume our energy, and especially that much energy, we got to let it go. That's the part of us that just has to let go and move forward. We're not in the same world that we were in before, and we are creating a new world. And so the new world, we just don't have a lot of space and time to be debating out things that are, yes, obviously no one has the ability to take away your decision on what you want to do about seatbelts or masks. And that's fine, just know that. And then it's done, because in the grand scheme of things, we are moving on to a different moment, and we are moving forward. And whether we are wearing masks when we're going to the grocery store 5 years from now or not is just not the point. The point is, are we a people that can sustain? Are we a people that will survive, or will we destroy one another and our planet? Will we constantly fight? Will we constantly be in fear? Or are we going to pull out of this and just be able to enjoy, that sort of pseudo golden age and heaven on earth that a lot of us think it is possible to experience? And I believe that we will, because I do think the collective portion of people who are out for the greater good and do want to put love and hope into the atmosphere, and do want to evoke compassion within other people and wake up people's empathy, and just tap into the goodwill and the good hearts that are possible in every single person, I do think that this shift will go in the right direction for humanity. And with all of that said, the whole point of this discussion is, who are you in this moment? And really look at who you are, and take all the circumstances out of it. Just look at who you are. Are you happy with who you are? Do you feel right about where you're at? And are you contributing to something positive, for the planet right now? And if you're one of the destroyers, or the bullies, you're probably not watching this anyway. So I think it's important for us to really just check in and just spend some time there. Could be a little boring, might be exciting to get to know yourself better, who knows. But before we kind of just run out there and we're swinging and we don't even know who we're fighting, what we're fighting, or why we're fighting, we just want to fight. Let's just all take a step back, go within, and just acknowledge the moment that we're in, and then try to kind of set the foundation and the basic intention for who we want to be in this moment. And that's all I've got for today. This is all new to me too, so sorry about the sun in your eyes and a little bit of technical difficulties and everything out here on the water. So I thought I'd give it a shot. I rather enjoyed it anyway, but just hang in there, you guys. We're gonna get through it. We are. It's all about love. Don't forget that.